just because you're the leader, the solopreneur, or, the business owner who's got the gusto to make it happen, doesn't mean you have to make it all happen. You need a team. You need a supporting entity to really get those results that you want to see without burning out. All right. You don't have to be it all for every part of your business. And that's why we have Katie here today. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself, why this topic matters to her, and why it should matter to you. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shauna. Thanks for having me. My name is Katie Gray. I'm principal and founder of Kinetic Marketing Communications, and we are a women-owned marketing collective of senior level marketing strategists of all domains. And one of the reasons we started this is just because of my experience in my career. Since 2007, I have worked as a senior level marketing strategist for a number of agencies, advertising, marketing, branding firms, as well as in-house. And as Shauna mentioned, it just takes a village of excellent talent of all different disciplines to really make the most out of your marketing campaign. And for it to be successful, there is no such thing as a unicorn who can do everything. And so I really wanted to lead a team of senior level marketers, people who have spent their careers focused on their craft, and be able to bring the most effective strategies to our clients.
And this is so integral because truly, even if you are one of those unicorns who can really get their fingers into a lot of cookie jars, that doesn't mean that you're doing each and every task effectively or efficiently. There's always going to be someone who has been hyper specific in one area who can level up whatever you had been doing all along.
Yeah.
You're pulling these people from all over the place, these amazingly talented people, in order to provide services for your clients.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's marketing is very broad. And I counsel sometimes students who have just gotten out of school, and it is so broad they don't even know which area to focus on, right? I like to compare it to the medical field. You've got your cardiologists, you've got your neurologists, you've got your, endocrinologists, and you don't want a cardiologist, or you don't want a neurologist performing heart surgery, right? Like, people don't think about that, or a lot of companies don't understand how hyper focused it is, how many disciplines there are within the world of marketing. The other analogy I use is like the orchestra analogy, to where, my analogy is I would be kind of the John Williams, to where I compose the marketing strategy of, I can read all of the different notes. I'm not an expert in the particular instrument necessarily, but I know all the instruments that I would need to assemble, and the talent that I would need to assemble to actually play those instruments at their highest performance, and bring the right team together to make the most harmony. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different levels that you can pull in marketing, and it's a matter of which ones make the most sense for the challenge, the objective, and pulling that team together, and based on the budget, based on the timeline, based on all sorts of different parameters. There's just so many factors that go into being able to effectively achieve your goals.
So would I be correct in assuming that you don't believe in one size fits all marketing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
It doesn't exist. I mean, it's just, yeah, you would be set up to fail if that were the case. So there is not a one size fits all. Everything is determined by, the goals that you're trying to achieve, how you're measuring success, what the competitive landscape looks like, what your target audience personas are, what are their decision drivers, being able to get to the bottom of all of those things, and crafting a message and reaching them with enough, frequency at the right time, are all part of the formula. And making sure that you've got, like I said, that right integration of marketing tactics and the right people to perform those tactics in order for it to work. And you need people who love what they do and who have the capacity to do what they want to do. A lot of agencies, I would say, there's a lot of, because there's a lot of overhead associated with it, right? And so you supplement with junior level talent, and even, those guys contract at times, but like you a lot of times they'll experience burnout because they're overwhelmed. And our model is so unique in the fact that we've just got this collective of just senior level strategists, and a lot of them are career established contractors. They've done this their entire lives, and so they're used to working with each other and collaborating with each other. And so you just pull the right people for the right job and assemble them all together. They're motivated, they're excited, they've got the capacity to do the work, they're kind, they're collaborative. So it really is a great synergy that we bring, I think. And
You've
like I said,
touched on
I started the company because I really wanted to create an environment that I had not been witnessed before in my career. And so it's just been really lovely to be able to do that with my partner, Megan Swaggart. And every day is a joy to come to work.
That's amazing. And that's definitely something we're going to have to talk about. I want to reflect a little bit just for a moment, because you touched on a lot of really important concepts that people forget when they're trying to implement their anything in business, but particularly their branding and their marketing, and how they're going to actually execute on the task, right?
Yeah.
And those concepts are about capacity and burnout. People
Right.
forget that it takes a lot to do it. And I'm not even just talking about the passion and the talent that you referred to in the first place. Maybe you are passionate, maybe you are talented, but that still doesn't mean you can do it all. You've only
Right.
got a certain amount of capacity in order to execute the task before you burn out. And you and I both know that consistency is important. And if you've burnt out, you've ruined your consistent effort.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, no, and that's one thing that always gets overlooked is this capacity. I mean, in every place that I've ever worked, the number one issue is bandwidth. And then and also just capacity in terms of skill level. Like I said, I mean, people who just don't have the the level of skills that are required to execute on a particular strategy within that domain. And yeah, I wish I could say everybody is the same, but they're just not. There are levels of skill and talent and that
I
sort of
don't
thing.
want
And
everybody to be the same. That's where we get the richness from it. But it takes a leader like yourself to recognize those differences and to pull together the strengths of each individual in order to create this beautifully comprehensive team who can execute on a task based on, as you said before, specific parameters of that unique marketing campaign within that unique business.
right. Yeah, I mean, and just to give you an example of just how unique and how niche it can get is you've got, everybody like throws social media into one bucket. Well, it's not. You've got people who are really strong in organic, like organic social. And then you've got teams that are really good at paid social. And then you get into how you leverage AI for that and how you build targeting parameters and meta and how you can hyper target to specific audiences. So, and then you hear about PR and how does that play with your paid initiatives and how can you leverage that for maybe, native advertising and what does that mean? And how do you use marketing automation to continue to nurture those leads? So it's not just about all of the different specialties and tactics that you can pull together. It's also just every part in the funnel too, from pre-awareness to consideration to conversion. I mean, it's a huge marketing funnel and every single layer in that funnel needs to be considered and needs to have channels and tactics and messaging that apply to it in order to get the most out of your marketing budget.
I am the organic person. That's where I live. And when you listed out all of the things that I do and then added the things that I do not do, I felt the weight of that kind of task. And it's literally what I do. So when there are people out there who don't, that's not your thing. Like you provide a different service or product, and your thing is that to try to tackle something as big and heavy as marketing on your own, that you're asking a lot of yourself. That
Yeah.
bandwidth is going to be depleted in no time at all. It's like I'm a pretty big geek. I like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings and stuff. The Lord of the Rings
Oh,
movie where
kindred
Bilbo
spirit.
Baggins
Me
says,
too.
I love it. Well, I mean, we would go on tangents, so I'm not going to. But the quote that sticks with me, Bilbo Baggins, when he says he feels like butter spread on too many pieces of toast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we're getting into, and that's what a team like yours can support. That's what they can go in there and they can say, "No, we're going to have a healthy helping of butter on your piece." And we're each going to have a healthy helping of butter on our pieces, and we're going to make this a freaking party. We're going to see results, which is amazing. That is what we want to see within a well-functioning organization.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I will say too, just from the company perspective, there again is this misconception that if I hire someone to lead a team, they're going to be able to do everything.
Mm.
And so I do feel like there is an education that needs to go out there too with businesses, that it takes a village. Like you're saying, I don't know all the folks that listen to this podcast, but those of us definitely that are executing on the work probably understand that better. But I would say the company man, if you will, sometimes that is not realized until they hire someone and then they feel like that person might fail. So, you just always have to manage that expectation that it's going to take a lot of people to pull all of this off. And you're going to have to invest in a multifaceted plan in terms of tactics and channels and production to get all of that work done, to be able to even advertise and leverage your advertising dollars. It's a lot. Like, it's a huge investment from a marketing perspective in order to be able to really generate those results that we talked about.
And when you say investment, we're usually kind of we're generally going to think of money, and that's fine. That's true. It does cost money to get things done, right? That's why we call it ROI. It's a return on investment. But it's also, that investment is also bandwidth, like we've already discussed.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I find that people forget about is the investment of time.
Yes.
They're expecting overnight results. Whether you've hired one person to help you, whether I'm going to even go so far as to say, whether you're doing it yourself and you're trying to make ends meet because that's where you're at. Okay, sure. Whether you've hired one person to help you, a small team, or a big organization to step in, a lot of times they're saying, I want this done by yesterday. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I feel like that's another myth that we can bust here on this conversation. Because no, just first of all,
Yeah.
no.
Not everybody will say no, though, and that's part of the problem, is that when you bite off more than you can chew, it's always going to come back to kind of kick you in the rear end, or you're going to feel the effects of that. And it also can have a damaging effect on your reputation. I hate to say, like, if you overpromise and underdeliver, that has negative effects on your reputation. And so you always need to know what your strengths and your weaknesses are. Like we talked about, your capacity to be able to perform the work well. Know what you can do well within the time frame that you're given. And if you can't, see if you can meet in the middle somewhere. And sometimes if you can't, then you've just got to pass. I mean, there's always going to be other opportunities out there.
Absolutely. And that's mostly from the execution point of view and your team. But from like
Mm-hmm.
the business owner point of view, understanding that it's not going to happen overnight,
Yeah,
understanding that even if you do have a really great team who has the capacity, who has the talent and the passion, it's still something that, just from a tactical, practical point of view, takes time.
absolutely.
It's not sustainable either. If for some reason you get this overnight success that you hear about, to expect that to be repeated is unreasonable and impractical. It just simply is
Yeah.
not likely to happen.
Yeah. No, it's not. No. Yeah, so I would definitely say that is an education as well, that be realistic on your timelines, and realistic on all expectations, including, what you expect from the people on your staff and what they can do and what you need to supplement in terms of, the workforce. And with our team, we're very agile and scalable, and we can, completely embed in your team fractionally and have the same email address as the rest of your team as part of the company, and if you need fractional support from a marketing consultant standpoint, or if it's just a specific initiative that you're doing or campaign, we can do turnkey project work to where we assemble the team for the task at hand, if you will, and can help shepherd that through the process. But yeah, it again, it takes a village. You will not find, I don't think, you'll see the most success that way is when you collaborate with others who can who complement your skill set and can get the most out of your marketing.
Well put. Who complement your skill set. That is gold. Because truly, I mean, that's what, whenever I'm working with someone, whether it's for marketing or anything else, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm asking questions about. What is going to
Yeah.
complement my skill set? And I'm going to implore to everyone joining us for this conversation that they consider that too whenever they're thinking about who they're going to work with, why, et cetera, et cetera. And speaking of the why, I wanted to kind of touch on just very briefly the why behind your business. Now, we've already heard a lot of the values that kind of birthed this business, but I'd like to just hear a little bit more about that journey and just like I said, the why, because I remember feeling it deeply in me when you described it to me before, just the sense of that is and will be always needed, just that
Yeah.
so go ahead, let us hear more.
So obviously, throughout my career, I've experienced, and we all have, I'm sure, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And so I wanted to create an environment um, where it wasn't hair on fire all the time, that you're not always putting out brush fires because people can't perform the task or the clients don't have it, like just this chaotic, frenetic environment. And I wanted to work with people who were energized, who, were not burned out, who were at the top of their game. Luckily, I've had the opportunity throughout my career, Megan has as well, to where we have just made a lot of connections with people like us who have established a place in the career. And the pandemic really changed everything. It proved remote working was possible. It proved that you can still be productive, if not more so. I'm honestly more productive when I am not distracted by a lot that's going on around me,
Yeah.
particularly when a lot of the work that we do is critical thinking work. And so you need that focus. You can have a lot of distractions if you want to be able to do it well. And so I just wanted to create an environment where I could perform at my best. Others who were excellent at their craft were be able to perform at their best. And people who had mutual respect for one another, loved to collaborate, and had the self-discipline to be able to do the work. A lot of times when you're in a community environment, like I would call the traditional agency model, where it's a bunch of W-2s. I mean, you've got the bosses that are, and I've been in leadership positions of 3 different, companies. And so it's like cracking the whip and working as hard as you can. And people are working overtime and nights and killing themselves. And if you think that you're being productive, if you're working 80 hours a week, you're not.
No.
The science shows that you are the most productive, or you really are productive, between 4 to 6 hours in a day. I mean, that's just human nature. And so just being able to work with people who are empathetic, had mutual respect, self-discipline, who are incredibly talented, and creating an environment like and some of that did exist in the environments that I worked in. Don't get me wrong. That did, but I wanted to take the best and what I've learned over the years, and because of this pandemic and the remote working and the fact that things were really evolving, Zoom calls replaced, in-person meetings, just so much has changed. I just saw an opportunity to be able to start something that I really had never seen before. And I got fortunate enough that my longtime friend and colleague, Megan Swaggart, was a place in her career where she was able to join me. And if you had told us 5 years ago when we worked together that this was going to happen, we would have just probably burst out in tears and not even believed you. And every day has just been a complete joy. So, I mean, I wanted to bring back the joy of marketing and working with people again, and not just having that culture that weighs you down and that burns you out.
That is it. That is it. And that I feel like marketing in particular, like BGM marketing, has had like a really kind of not fabulous light shone on it over the course of history, even because we see marketing in propaganda, we see marketing in, you know, that sleazy salesperson, right? You see all of this type of thing, and it doesn't have to be that way on the forefront, and it doesn't have to feel that way on the back end. And I think that what you've created is definitely a next level, like a truly an innovative evolution of the space of marketing. And I mean, kudos, amazing. Now,
Thank you.
we've talked about a lot of different things though that I know, like I'm right. I have a list. I have a literal list, but then I also have a list running in my head of like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, how can I? And there are a lot. If there was one thing that you would want the people who have joined us for this conversation to take to heart, and run with, I want you to share it with them. But first, before I'm going to let you think of it, because that was a big question. I'm going to let you think on it. Before you do that, I want to remind everyone who's joined us today that these conversations happen every week. So make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell, and join the conversation. Leave a comment, ask a question. We're here to help. We're not going anywhere. And we want to see you succeed. So with that, I'm going to give the mic over to you, Katie. Please let the people know what they need to hear.
Well, I would just say, this is going to sound corny and soft, but like just follow your heart. If you and I would just say hone on your niche, figure out what you're really good at, and hone those skills, and surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up and not tear you down. And Yeah, I mean, just get out there, pick up the phone, work on your relationships. The other thing I would say too is just soft skills are underrated. I think everybody's so, focused on the work and getting things done and Slack and email and all of that. And you've got this screen in front of you all the time. And just don't underestimate the value of cultivating really strong relationships and putting yourself in that person's shoes. Sorry, that was like a lot of different things. It was random.
No, it's all good.
I don't know. The takeaway is just yeah, just you become what you believe. Just yeah, I don't know.
You do. And people are going to want to hear more from you. Let them know where they can reach out.
So you can visit our website at kineticcoms.com, but we really encourage you to join our LinkedIn community. We're a pretty young company, and so we're still trying to build our followers. And we actually, roll out content on a pretty frequent basis. And so we would just love to have you as part of our community.
Oh, I love it. And I mean, you can join me there too, because I definitely am a follower and I love to see what's coming out every day, every week, all the time, whenever something's coming up. That's an interesting new point of view. I like that. So absolutely join me over there, say hello, leave a comment there as well. Just to summarize, because that cherry on top, Katie, that you shared, it was not all over the place. And I think you summed up what you were saying very beautifully. Is this idea that you become what you believe?
Yeah, that's Oprah Winfrey, by the way. That's a quote from Oprah Winfrey. Yeah, so I would definitely say you, and just also surround yourself with people that lift you up and don't tear you down. I would say too.
And that's exactly it, right? That whole idea of becoming what you believe. This is one of those things that it's not a standalone quote by Oprah. It's not a standalone quote because it has all of these moving pieces that include, I've got it written down, that include following your heart, connecting with people intentionally, using those soft skills to remain human. That's all a part of becoming what you believe, really just tapping into your humanness.
Yeah.
Right.
No, absolutely.
You mentioned too, just within that world is also the concept of ikigai, which I'm not going to get into, but if you haven't looked into it, my beautiful friends who've joined us today, look into ikigai. It's an amazing concept. And tell me what you think about it, because I know that it can be kind of this aspirational goal that people feel like might be out of reach. I disagree. So come and fight with me. Anyways, we're gonna have these conversations every week. As I said, subscribe, leave me a comment, challenge me to a battle of ikigai, and we will chat soon. See you later.